terms of this movie Selma, which is getting a lot of attention. One, for its Oscar snubs, but also two, because of the controversy surrounding what's in the movie. In terms of full disclosure, I have not seen the movie, but this past weekend, I happened to spend the weekend in Austin, Texas. Have a friend, went down for a little weekend jaunt, and because of the great folks at Southwest Airlines, you can pop in and pop out. So went down on Friday, came back yesterday, and while I was there, we went and saw the Lyndon Johnson Presidential Library, which just so happens that Martin Luther King holiday is this weekend. And it just so happens that I was at the Lyndon Johnson Presidential Library. And it just so happens that this Selma controversy is taking place right now. So it's sort of a nice little cross-section. Here's the now, I've not seen the movie Selma, but the controversy is that Lyndon Johnson is portrayed as the bad guy in this movie. And Lyndon Johnson is portrayed in the movie. I have not seen the movie. This is what they're saying. He's portrayed as being reluctantly behind the Voting Rights Act and opposed to the march itself. So that's the portrayal of the movie. Now, in 2015, history is kind of important and facts are kind of important, and we don't need to pour any more gasoline on any more fires when it comes to race relations in this country. And if you're doing a movie about Selma, is it vital that you get the color of Lyndon Johnson's shirt right? Not really. Is it vital if you use a 1971 Cadillac and not a 1965 presidential Cadillac? Not so much. But in a movie about race relations and the horrific things that African Americans had to go through to actually earn the right to vote and actually earn the right to sit in the front of the bus and actually earn the right to drink out of the same water fountain and sit in the same movie theater and work in the same locker room and work in the same store and all those types of things. Is it important to sort of get what the President of the United States actually thought and actually did to help or hurt that cause? I think it's kind of important. And so in the movie, LBJ is portrayed as being opposed to the march, sort of working against Martin Luther King, and not sort of being behind the Voting Rights Act of 1965. Well, it's pretty hard to find a historian today who is going to agree with that. I have yet to find a historian who says that the film is factually accurate. In fact, there are many who are coming out saying that not only was Selma's march Lyndon Johnson's idea, but he also considered the Voting Rights Act his greatest legislative achievement. And not only did he like Martin Luther King, but he viewed him as essential in getting it passed. So Martin Luther King didn't use Lyndon Johnson. Lyndon Johnson used Martin Luther King to get the Voting Rights Act passed. So not only is the movie inaccurate, it's actually flat out wrong. So when I was at the museum, which is tremendous, and I do not know enough about Lyndon Johnson, that is a fact. And if you're getting your history from JFK the movie or Selma the movie, you are missing out on what actually happened, because history is much more interesting than the inaccuracies that Hollywood is sort of perpetrating. You can pick up the phone at the Lyndon Johnson History Museum and listen to the phone call that Martin Luther King places to Lyndon Johnson days after he takes office. You can listen to the phone call that Jackie Kennedy gives to Lyndon Johnson the day after. You can hear him sort of work Katharine Graham with the Washington Post, because the Washington Post is covering fashion and not covering what's actually going on in Congress. It's extraordinary. They have there John Lewis, who was a congressman from Georgia, who was there on the march in Selma, right? Who is probably the biggest civil rights guy going today. They have him saying if it wasn't for LBJ, it wouldn't have happened. And so You listen to the criticism. I haven't seen the movie yet, but you watch this and you think, you know what? Lyndon Johnson, I know it's Martin Luther King Day, and yes, he's a great American, and let's pay homage to him, and let's have a day for him. I have no problem with that. But let's not tarnish everybody else who was instrumental in getting all of that important legislation passed. I really am disappointed I'm really disappointed in Oprah. She's the one who moneyed behind this. And the director, when asked the questions, like, oh, I'm not a documentarian, I'm a filmmaker. No, okay, great. But you know what? You got the music right. You got the cars right. You got the clothes right. You get the shoes right. You get the hats right. You get the handbags right. But you don't get what the president did right? I'm sorry. That's really kind of upsetting with me. 314-969-KTRS, 1-888-550-KTRS, or star KTRS. Those are the phone numbers. We'll come back in a moment. 917, Big 550, KTRS.
This is McGraw Live on KPLR 11.2, STLtoday.com, and the Big 550 KTRS.